What's up, Command This family? It's Thursday. We live. You know you want to be here. We got the one and only Double A coming up next.
Stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Command This. It's Thursday, August 4th, and we are live and direct. We'll get a couple people in the room. Wait here for a second. But before we do that, let's introduce our guest, good friend of the show. You know him as number 13 on the field. He's number 1 in our hearts. We love him. Let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Double A, Anthony Armstrong. What's popping?
What's going on, fellas?
I'm
gonna take these shades off, but it does look fresh. I like that. Got the mindset working too. This is in my little corner. How you like my setup?
It's good. It's
Look
good.
At that. I mean, this man's got the picture of himself back there in the old burgundy and gold.
Right.
He's got the new burgundy and gold
right there.
Yeah, this is a man. This is a man who he knows how to get himself looking professional for y'all.
You gotta put it all together. And I'm glad I got a little corner in the office that I'm gonna take these shades off because we're gonna get serious.
Yeah. What up,
Jimmy Lee?
Marcus Edelin. Welcome, fellas. You picked a good one to join tonight. We are live with former Washington Redskins wide receiver Anthony Armstrong. Just coming from boot camp, getting your sweat on.
Yeah, had my little camp gladiator goes down at 6:30 Central, so had to get that work in for them. I ran 2 miles pre-camp. I was waiting on somebody to show up so I could cut that sucker short, and they decided to show up about 20 minutes till we started. So I was like, dang, guess I'm gonna keep going. So it was fun though.
Had to do it.
Got to get that endurance going.
This is your third time on the show with us, and we had you on for our 100th episode, our century episode back in early December, I think it was. So to have you back on, man, is just a treat. And football's back. Game on tonight. Isn't that crazy? It just creeps up on you.
Yeah, it's a good game for the Raiders, at least right now.
It just shows up out of nowhere. I was very excited about the Hall of Fame game. Haven't got to see any of it. Obviously, I was doing camp. Yeah. But I'll catch some highlights.
I mean, as you prepare for a season, as fans, clearly this crept up on us. But as a player, is it not as slow? Is it like it's coming? Or it's just like, oh damn, it's here already.
Man, it's slow going. Through the off season, just because there's really there's only so much you can do. Then you get that break in July. And, after the break, like training camp's going to start. So then that excitement picks back up. And then you hit those dog days, the groundhog days of training camp. That's coming up soon, like day 10, when the fans aren't there anymore. That's when you really start just disliking your teammates a little bit, and you can't wait to hit somebody else. So the teams that are in the Jaguars, the Raiders, those guys are the first ones to get to go up against somebody else. I'm sure they're happy for it because now after that, you get to focus on one opponent at a time, and the season flies by.
That's right. And you're a podcaster now, just like us.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your new podcast or co-hosting podcast, Believe in Commanders.
Yeah, Believe in Commanders. The Believe Network. They had actually sent me an email, and I had been going around like thinking, man, I want to do a podcast, and then they approached me about hosting the one for the Commanders or co-hosting with a guy named Brian Murphy. He's out of Atlanta. He's a big Red Washington fan. He's a big fan for many years. So it's really cool to connect with him and hear his standpoint and then be able to get to talk ball, get to invite people on. I'd love to have y'all could come on there. Everybody's welcome over there in our spot. So it's a lot of fun. We usually do about a weekly show. Might get a little story time here or there. So we just taped one yesterday, released it this morning. So y'all check that one out.
That's the best, man. We're glad to have you on and talking some football, a little bit of football, mostly Commanders, but get your take on some other things going on in the league.
100%. Let's do it.
Yeah. So training camp, we're at week 2. second full week almost coming to a close. And just to get your insight on some of these things. So Deron Payne, we'll start with Deron Payne. He's been on this contract year dispute. We don't know what's going on with him really. And they gave him a vet day yesterday. What is that about in training camp? Is it just I know we see it during the season where vets get vets day and they don't got to dress out. They'll do walkthroughs, but so a training camp vet day, what does that entail and who gets that?
Well, vet days is very similar to in the season, and different coaches will address it different ways, but usually you have to be in for 3-4 years, right? Usually older guys, and it ends up being a way to kind of have a little bit of maintenance and make sure you don't run guys into the ground. So being able to say, hey, vet, you old guys, you get the day off coming up. So they know, generally that they're going to work, right? They're going to work and push themselves, and then they get their day off, take care of their bodies, and they can come back and be refreshed. But then also on the flip side, it's an opportunity to get those young guys more reps. So the young guys have to be able to step in and do your job, act like you're a starter, and embrace those periods, because that's going to be, some points where coaches get to see you in situations that you're not normally in. Fidarius Mathis is going to get a lot more reps with Payne taking that vet day. And you don't see every coach do it. I don't think Shanahan did it when I was there. At least I wasn't eligible for any vet days at that point. And I didn't want any vet days just because I was like, I don't know if this is going to be my last day. But no, vet days they're good. They're strategic. It's just to give your guys a chance to rest. Because once it gets live, once we get rolling along, there's not going to be many breaks. It's just going to be get back as close to 100% as possible and show up on Sundays and then rinse and repeat every week.
Right. Because you got those guys trying to make a name for themselves. I guess at some point that could be opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
Get that opportunity to show in and show out. I imagine it'll be that way for game one in the preseason. Now that they're down to 3 games, traditionally it was first game, you don't get to play much, second game, quarter, third game, half, fourth game, everyone else, give or take. How do you think they're going to approach it with 3?
Is a Hall of Fame game counting as the third game for Las Vegas and Jacksonville, or is that a fourth game for them?
I think
it's 3 for everybody.
Yeah.
So are they going to have 2 weeks off, 2 extra weeks off or something, or?
Right.
I generally
there's now going to be a week.
2 teams usually have one more extra
longer. There's now going to be a week between the last preseason game.
Oh, time out. Jacksonville gets 4.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Usually
3 more. So this one must not
preseason
count
game.
at all. Let me see the Raiders real quick. I didn't know that, but everyone else gets 3.
That's a change.
Yeah.
It used to be
everybody gets 4 and one team get 5.
Raiders get 3.
Yeah, but then for a couple of years, it was just everybody got 4, and this was just the first of the preseason week, first week on the preseason. So it's like they're going back a little bit to that whole, you get an extra preseason game if you're in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame game is just that extra game, right? So those teams, you get to go up against somebody a little bit sooner. Everybody else has to wait another week. So it ends up being an extra ball game. I don't see it being much of a change in how teams are going to treat it, because you think about it, that 4th preseason game, you weren't playing your good guys anyways. You aren't playing your starters. So it's less opportunity to see some of those young guys. And I think it puts more value on the preseason reps. But I don't think you're going to change it that much. People know, if you don't know who's on your team, once you get to that 3rd game, then shoot, man, you may be in a little bit of trouble. But there's not usually going to be a guy that shows up in that 4th game that really puts them, on the map. They really made their decisions. I feel there may be a guy or two where they're like, okay, let's keep this guy on practice squad. Maybe we try to keep him on, as player 52, 53, rather than thinking this guy's playing for a starting position or something like that. Right. You know what I mean?
But for starters, I think that might make the first game a little more important, unless they just go all in on 2 and 3. Or the third one's, really, it's the second game is going to be the big one, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, you can still treat that third one as
give them a quarter.
No, you can still treat that third one as the most, live one. So you get to kind of ramp up. You get, like you said, a quarter in the first game. You're not going to get that many. You probably see some guys get a series right? You won't see much. You probably won't see much Carson and Terry and all those guys. You probably see a lot more Jahan.
Yeah.
Probably, I bet Brian Robinson was going to get some good work to make sure he just gets to see as many live reps as possible. I mean, they need that guy to really understand how to pick up blitzes. And unfortunately, he's not going to see anything exotic in the preseason, but he needs to have live reps against somebody else so he doesn't know their tendency, so he can just work on some technique. So I think you let your vets get a little bit of movement, get them out of the game as fast as possible. Let those, the rookies and those guys that need to get those reps, let those guys run in that first game. And then as they get to that third game, you'll see about 3/4 of the good on good.
I last year I took my family to the Ravens Washington football team at the time game, and J.K. Dobbins tore his ACL right in front of us. I was like, oh, first quarter.
So what you're telling me is you're bad luck.
Hate to see it. But
so you stay at the house.
It was bad luck, yeah.
You stay home, I took my
family to.
Whatever the opposite of a rabbit's foot is what Steve is. Steve's foot.
It's either that you don't go or don't take the family.
I mean, we were there for only a half too, but hey, he was glad for the whole year, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah. That was a tough year for the Ravens. They had a whole bunch. Everybody was getting hurt. I mean, it was like,
were you anywhere near Curtis Samuel's hamstring? By the way,
soft tissue.
Now those hamstrings don't play, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad they're taking their time with them, because I know, like, personally, I pulled my hamstring 2010 and 2011 at like right around week 4, and I didn't think much about like load management and all that, but like looking back at it now, I'd be like, man, sure could have used a vet day or something in there. Yeah. Sure could have used a little bit of time. Like, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, that's why those guys are wearing they look like the little sports bras, the little like bralette things.
Yeah.
It's got those GPS trackers in the back. So they're able to see, like, hey, Curtis is getting, like, they're tracking how many yards, how much ground does he cover, so they can say, all right, you're doing too much. Now we want to pull you out. You can track and see how guys are progressing, what they're doing, and manage the load that they're going to, bear in training camp when nothing really counts. So they can kind of slowly progress those guys in and be more on top of it. It's just all data.
You had a bum hammy in 2010, and you still ripped off almost a 900-yard season that year. Let's just not lose sight of that.
Man, I pulled my hammy packing groceries one time. I was off work for like 3 days.
D-Hall tore his Achilles making pizza at home.
Man.
I wish I wouldn't have missed. I mean, I would have loved to. I never got to play in St. Louis. Those were literally the same game, same opponent. I missed both of those games. I was very upset with that, but I guess I could have had 1,000. I would have had 1,000 yards. Huh? I sure as hell would have.
Rex slung it, man.
Yeah, man, and that inside was a fast track too. I was like, oh, this is the place. Sure would be nice, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to suit up those games, man.
Yeah, I could say this, that I once actually got to be on the field at what's the name of that the stadium, the dome, in the TWA Dome, Edward Jones Dome, whatever they called it out there in St. Louis. That for some reason that turf was like super fast.
Yeah,
like, I went out there and did a sprint. And I was still in high school, so I was still like in football shape, still as a lineman, but. Like,
I ran track in the RCA once, man. That was rough.
Got to run across that, and I was like, damn, I feel fast. But you brought up this guy's name earlier, and I've been wanting to get your opinion on him, because a lot of people during the draft went, oh, what do we do? And now people are starting to feel
me.
Yeah. Steve was like, who's this guy?
Yep.
But now a lot of people who are starting to come around on this guy and really think he's going to be something special. Jahan Dotson. He's the same height as you when you played. Similar weight. Both of y'all have the speed game. Give me your thoughts on Jahan. I'm a Penn State guy, so I have a little bit of a bias.
You got a little bit of a bias.
But tell me what you think.
I could say I was doing camp that same Thursday, so I like rushed home, and when I got home, I turned on the TV. Washington was on the clock, and then they traded, and I was like, so I was like, what's going on? And then they picked Dotson, and I was like, I gotta go and look and see some tape on the kid, and I liked what I saw. definitely makes great catches. Everybody, raves about his catch radius. He's able to just contort his body, just, make all the catches, which is going to help his quarterback out. Doesn't have to be so accurate, but I can touch on that later. But I was watching some of the videos on social media, him running routes. Dude is smooth, man. I mean, smooth. And it gives me vibes thinking like, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, like that duo that the Colts had back in the day with Terry and him. Just great route runners. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. That they'll beat you deep if you mess up. Though they can beat press. And I'm very impressed with him. I really am. I think he's going to be one of the more productive rookies this year. There's another guy out in Pittsburgh I think is going to have a pretty good season too, George Pickens. But I really like what I'm seeing out of Jahan Dotson. I like that you don't hear anything from him. He's just he's all about his business. He shows up. He did, like they say, hey man, you scored a touchdown. You can smile a little bit. And he's like, well, I'm cool. And I like to celebrate in the end zone. So I know he's going to probably have a little something whenever he gets in the end zone in a game. But when you have practice, he's just like, okay, I'm here to catch passes. I'm here to do my job. And I like that about it. And I think having Terry in the receiver room as well, it probably, makes him feel even more comfortable to handle himself that way, because Terry's about his business, and just to have those two guys like that, they're going to be workmanlike. They're going to push each other. I feel like they're both, they're almost like sponges where they're willing to, learn and listen to each other and find ways to improve. And the ultimate goal is to get better. And it's a dangerous combination, man. It's going to be a dangerous combination of players. And plus, if you get Curtis back out there too, just watch out.
I've said last time we were on a pod, we were at DMV Sports Zone. I said that this is before we realized that Curtis was actually healthy. They're just getting his conditioning back. I said that Curtis Samuel was a luxury at this point. If he plays, that's even better. But I felt comfortable with the fact that Dotson and Terry were going to be the number 1 and 2. It looks like.
Well,
my comp. Well, you see, my comp for Dotson was prime Santana, because similar size and could high point balls and get those 50-50 balls you usually don't see a 5'11" receiver make.
Coach says he's like Steve Smith.
And then I've heard the Steve Smith comparison.
I mean, that's very similar to Santana. They both 5'9", 200. You know what I mean?
Marcus says you were one of the most underrated deep receiver ever played for Washington.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I don't want to talk on myself much, but whenever I saw that when Terry had broken like the rookie record for yards or what, I think that's what it was, and then my name came up and they're like, Anthony Armstrong was second. I was like, I was second? I had no clue. I didn't even know that I was like on that list for yards for a rookie receiver. I just figured because I was old, I really didn't apply for that. It was kind of like I had an asterisk next to my name. But no, I could. The thing about when you talk about Steve Smith, he played really big, but he was a very physical receiver, right? Like he will knock you out. Like you saw him, he would go after linebackers, and
just like Pierre. Pierre was the same.
Yeah, just like Pierre. So whenever you compare Dotson to that, you wonder if he has that level, that type of physicality, that type of a chip to him. But to be a very explosive, undersized player, I'll take that comparison. But I feel like it would be more of kind of like I said, like a Reggie Wayne, like a Marvin Harrison, just silent assassin, and will just route you up and don't even gotta say nothing to you. Like you're like, dang, and here he just walks by and pat you on the butt. Like that's the type of shit talking that he probably does. Like, I'm gonna just pat you on the butt.
Marcus says Dotson reminds him of the cross between Deshaun Jackson and Steve Smith. Well, he ran at 4.43 at the combine. Anthony, you were not a combine guy, but did you have to do these tests in preparation for coming to the NFL? Like, what was your 40 time coming into the when you left West Texas?
So when I ran my fastest 40s were 4.2, like 4.24. to like 4.28 somewhere in there, right? So I ran in Odessa. I skipped a week, came up and tried out for an Arena 2 team, ran 2.42s at that tryout. So I was just kind of going all over the place running 4.2s. And I remember I had like a 3.96 and a little short shuttle at one point. And mind you, I didn't have any training. I was just like, I'm just going to, this is how you want to do the drill? Okay, cool. Now, I guess so. Nowadays, though, these kids like train on these things and they can, really work on it. But yeah, I was a 4.2 guy. But I that's why I kind of always felt like if I could get in front of the right person, I could make something happen. But 4.43, you said that's what he had in the combine. 4.43
the combine, yeah.
4.43. That's it's not like super top end speed, but you don't have to have top end speed to beat people deep. You know what I mean? As good of a route runner as he is, I know that he'll be able to create separation and then find a way to get past DBs. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for him.
A little finesse and technical route running. I think Dev says he can still run a what was it, Phil? Dev thinks he can still run
around 4.6 if you give him a month.
Man, tell you, bro. I still got to get away from the cop speed for sure.
Yeah,
man. I still got that.
Man, I got myself thinking, I'm like, maybe I'll do like Darryl Green and run a 40 on my 40th birthday. And I was like running at camp and I was like, man, my hamstring over here is sore. Yeah. And I had like kind of tweaked it a little bit. And I was like, okay, so I feel like I would say I could do a month. I would say give me 2 to 3 months of good, just consistent training and not try to force it. Yeah, may not be a 4.2, but I do think I can get in that 4.3 range.
That's no way. Look, man, I turned 40, and my big thing was I'm going to dunk a basketball again, right? So, man, I actually dunked it, right? Two-handed, right? And it wasn't a problem when I dunked it, but when I landed, man, my body sounded like a transformer, bro. hey, I was icing knees like Patrick Ewing, man. I was like, oh my God, man, it was the worst feeling I ever had in my life, man. It humbled the crap out of me, man. And I've never played basketball again. Like not with my kid, not with my son or nothing. He asked me to shoot. I'm good. 2K, I'm on it all day. But outside the driveway, over, man.
You gotta know when to just say, I'm good.
We got one of the speed things out here though. I'm gonna take my girlfriend out there though. She gonna take this L.
Oh, you gonna go run next to a radar?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm going to tear up. I ran track in college. I was All-American 1 year.
Okay.
Then there was a little issue with eligibility and somebody else taking some tests. Hey, allegedly.
Allegedly. Sean only got 6 games, so you
oh Lord.
I think the coach is in a Mexican prison. Literally, I'm not even lying about that. I think that at this point in life.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, with
I don't know nothing.
Right.
Did they try to rope everyone in? When you were playing with CBA and Players Union, was that a big thing back then? Because it is now, and it's like it's all about the collective bargaining agreement. Was that like a big thing?
Yeah. Well, so when I first got in, the crazy thing is, I don't want to say it's crazy. I'm fortunate that I got in at the age I did. Like I was like 24, 25. I had read some money books and was already thinking about, trying to, reduce debt and all the other jazz. And so when they would have these benefits meetings, I was like, I'm going to go in here and figure out like what y'all got. And you started to learn about the different things, but there wouldn't be that many people in there. So out of the 53 or 60 some odd people with practice squad included, there wasn't that many people in there. And it was very upsetting just to see that like a lot of the young guys didn't go. And he probably wouldn't have thought to, but there's a lot of really good information. And then that's how I started to learn kind of about what the CBA was about. Obviously we had, 2010, we played without a CBA. There was no collective bargaining agreement. And
is that the year they took our salary cap for?
It was because of that year.
Yeah, they took it away. Yeah, Dallas and Washington, everybody, they were like, hey guys, don't dump all your salary into 2010. And then they were like, I'm gonna do it anyway. They said,
it was D Hall and Hainsworth. They paid up front to get out of the.
They said, watch this. Yeah. Well, either way, so like there was basically there was like a bonus that was normally inside of the CBA that wasn't in that year, and that was the year I played. And it's kind of yeah.
Wait,
yeah,
so you saying Anthony Armstrong is the reason all our salary cap got taken away?
No. What I'm saying is I got some back pay that I want, and I'm never I won't get to receive it because we didn't have a CBA that year.
Yeah.
And so that basically a lot of guys, it was a player performance bonus, right?
Bro,
so
you need to get that judge that Watson got.
Man, look, I just wanted my couple bucks, but I'm that was 12 years ago, man. So I'm gonna go on and chalk that one up to the game. So now the CBA, it's hard to visualize you're making decisions that are gonna affect something 10, 15, 20 years down the line. It's like you may not see some of those things, even though that CBA then did kind of readjust how they disperse the salaries. Like they stopped paying the rookies the biggest contracts because they were the first overall pick. But what ended up happening was more teams would cut veterans because vets minimums would be higher.
Yeah.
So for a fourth, fifth receiver, like making $1 million, they're like, we're going to keep this second year guy that's only making, 400. You do the same thing, and normally it'd be like, all right, we'll keep the vet because he's, he knows the game, blah, 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 blah. So it kind of changed the way things got dispersed. And I think that's kind of why you're starting to see these contracts get different because people are realizing they want to get this bag early and often, especially if they outperform their contracts.
I'm glad you brought that up because of the whole, fourth, fifth receiver, why are we going to give you, a mil minimum, something like that. Well, we can go get a rookie in the fourth or fifth round and pay him a couple $100,000. Cam Sims, who really we don't see him as anything no higher than a fourth receiver on this team right now.
I do, Cam. I love you, Cam.
Hold on. I love Cam too.
I hate on Cam, man. Roll Tide, Cam.
On this podcast, I never asked for him to be our starting free safety like Dev, but
got the soundboard up tonight.
I've caved hard for Cam. Cam comes up big late in the season, but we signed him to a new contract this offseason. And he's in his fifth year, something like that. He was a Jay Gruden guy. Just out of curiosity, do you see anything in Cam Sims that makes you say, you know what, this kid's worth keeping around at a higher price tag over someone else? What do you see that makes you say that that's a value pick, or do you think it's not a value pick?
I think 6'6".
I think 6'6" is a big thing. If you do look at the receiver room, there's not. It's almost like the Smurfs, right? The Smurfs 2.0, 3.0, right? But he's shown up and he's made plays in the game. Like he's made plays and he's been productive with the few opportunities that he does have. So bringing height to the room and actually having been productive, so that he doesn't necessarily have to get a whole bulk of reps to still do some things. But then if you look too, what if you're still trying to ramp up Curtis, So maybe Curtis isn't going to get all the action. You can rotate Cam in and mix him in a little bit, maybe probably on run plays. I could see, a lot of backside, routes where they don't want to waste Curtis on running something that he isn't going to see the ball anyways. That's got to be huge. And then, Cam's probably making some sort of an impact on special teams because he's going to have to play there.
He's a gunner.
He's one of the best gunners in the league. I'll give him that.
There you go.
Like
so there you go.
So
then I'll tell you this. Forget all the receiver stuff. Like the receiver stuff is like why you're in the league. That gunner stuff is what's going to make him be on this team. 100%.
Yeah.
Like you go way back, Jaguars. They're obviously Hall of Fame guy. Kasim Osgood. He was with the Chargers, and then he went to the Jaguars, and he was a 6'5" wide receiver who was an absolute demon at special teams, at a gunner. He was so long and he could just throw the jammers out of the way and he'd run down and he'd, do fairly well tackling. And that is a very important position. Like people say, oh, it's just a gunner. Shoot. If you can run down there and like stop that returner and be effective, like teams have to game plan for that. You'll start to see two jammers on Sims or on Osgood would have that same vibe. That takes an extra guy out of the box, right? So now you only have to deal with at most seven up, and you dig into your bag of tricks, right? Now, hey, you know what? They're going to treat Cam with this. Now we can run a fake this way. Having playmakers on the field, regardless, is going to be a key. So yeah, Cam Sims is going to be here all day. What's up, Yam in Japan?
Yam in Japan, friend of the show. Yam actually in Japan.
Damn.
Thank you for tuning in. Yam, good to see you. Welcome.
See, I'm actually glad you said that because I am a Cam Sims fan. But I just thought it was interesting because signing him to a new contract just seemed to go against the trend of what you see with receivers in his position. You know, they'll we'll replace him with a rookie, or we'll get an undrafted free agent or something like that, bring them in at a lower price, and get hopefully get a couple of them in, and one of them turns out to be good on special teams, we'll put them in there. So I just thought that was an interesting kind of bucking of the trend that we did. It's not like a major deal that happened, but I think it's one of those little moves that we're kind of doing a zig when the rest of the league is zagging. Yeah. And I just thought that was interesting that we did that, especially because every year it seems like people think this is the year that Cam Sims doesn't make the squad. Well, we just signed him to a contract. I think he's going to be making this squad for a while.
Yeah. I mean, he brings value. Like the issue is a lot of times fans will just get stuck on what position is next to the person's name, right? Your top three receivers, if everybody's healthy, is Terry, Curtis, and Jahan, and you can put 2 and 3 in whatever order you want to. Those are your top people.
Yeah,
off rip. And Terry ain't playing no special teams. Jahan ain't playing no special. He might cover. He might return a kick or something. And then Curtis, I feel like they don't want to even risk throwing him out on something else unless they feel that he's going to make an impact on like a punt return, a spot punt return here or there. But you're not going to put those guys in those special team situations. There's no point to do it. Now you have a big body receiver who can step in on offense and then still be effective on the special teams game. That brings a lot of value. I mean, look at Matthew Slater, right? New England Patriots, over 10-year vet. You know how many catches he has
over his career?
Yeah, he has 3 Super Bowls. Okay,
Does he have 15? I'm just gonna throw a number out there.
15 catches. What do you think? What do you think, Dave? What do you think, Phil?
Well, I mean, I really
7-time Pro Bowler.
7-time Pro Bowler.
I say he had 20.
20,
got
15,
25.
One.
And he's listed as a wide receiver technically?
He's a wide receiver. He's been to 7 Pro Bowls. He's been first team All-Pro 3 times.
Dang,
he's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He's got 1 catch.
Hey, nothing. What if I told you? What if I told you there's a dude in the NFL that played for 8 years at corner and never has had an interception?
That's okay. For Washington.
And he's a starter. And he's a starter a lot of the time.
Is he still though?
Who is that?
Even in the league still?
Who is that?
I'm just saying. How long did he play in the league though?
Who is
like
that?
If you looked up a highlight of this dude, what's his highlights?
What's his name?
Who is it?
Aaron Colvin.
He's a quarterback. He got a interception one time in a preseason game, I think, when he played for Jacksonville. So
they called it back.
But
he's been out of the league. He's been out of the league since 2019.
Yeah. Marcus said a special teams player that kept him in the league for a long time.
How long did he play though?
James Thrash played for like 9 years.
James Thrash played for a really long time.
He had 5 sacks in his career.
How many years he play though?
Hey man, look, there's a lot of players who got long careers and they never get their hands on the football, but they always are where they're supposed to be. Like there's something about a coach being able to look over and be like, we don't got to worry about him. He's gonna be where he's supposed to be. I mean, Reed Dowdy's a guy that I think about this like that. People used to.
For Aaron Colvin, the offensive coordinator said that about him. So.
hey, if they're like throw it at him, he ain't gonna pick it. I'm like, hey, fair enough. He might fall into one, but like Reed Dowdy's one of those guys where they're like as a safety, like, oh my god, I can't believe he's starting. But it's like you don't really understand that he's stellar on special teams, and then he was going to do the right thing on defense. He may not make the 50-50 play catch. He might get mossed by Calvin Johnson, but who doesn't, right? Or Andre Johnson, who doesn't get mossed by him? So you just
lasted for
chalk
8
that
years.
one up.
You were there.
There you go.
Chilling.
You were there. I was watching.
Troy Apke 1 year away from getting a pension, bro.
Ricardo, thanks for joining us. If you haven't already done so, go tune into his Facebook group, Washington Commanders Fanatics. Jimmy's back. And hey, Dev, Jimmy said you need to get off Dark Get on that. He's talking about your internet. I think he's thinking about your camera that keeps going.
No, man. I'm trying. Look,
great value.
What's happening. I want to clarify this. My GF came in and brought me this humongous plate of food over here. So I don't want to like smack and chomp on camera. But
thank you.
My internet's cool, man.
He say this ain't the show. This ain't this is not a food show.
Right.
So much couth. Ricardo says being a special teams player kept Lorenzo Alexander around, and in his position flexibility made him valuable. Ended up with Buffalo, one of the top linebackers with sacks. Yeah, when he went to Buffalo, that was very devastating because he was just not only a great player around here for teams, but he was so great in the community in this DC area. And I believe he still has his charity still operates in this area. He's always in and around the DC area, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I saw you with some Commanders gear on before. So did the team send some your way?
Yeah. That's how I got that little scarf. I got a little pin and got a little W's magnet over there.
Good. So they're reaching out to alum. You know.
Yeah, my man Tim Hightower.
Yeah,
Tim Hightower
just wrote a book.
in that
just
position.
Released a book, if I'm not mistaken. Our friend Andy Burrows from over in the UK just posted that he got a free copy of Tim Hightower's book. It talks about his trials and tribulations, tearing his ACL, coming back to the team, and I think it's just a life lesson. So I might have to go pick that book up. I love Tim Hightower. Great dude.
Yeah, he's good people. Good people for
violence. I love dudes like that.
Yep. Yam says his biggest worry is depth. A few injuries here and there, and this team will be in trouble. I think that's very true, especially on the defensive side of the ball too. You got lots. of
that linebacker position is a little thin. It's a little scary.
Don't get started, and that's his soapbox.
But I mean, I think the play is one, try to get Davis as many reps as possible, through training camp. If you know that they have their eyes on some vet that they're planning on
Anthony Barr today.
Yeah, they did, but there's got to be somebody
that
they have their eyes on. You know what I mean?
Dante.
But most of these, like most vets that are going to be able to just show up and go, they're already in shape now. They can pick up the things quickly. You don't have to give them as much time. At least I figure you got to give Davis. I bet he plays a lot in the first game. I bet he does. They got to see him go out there. Jamin, yeah. I'm sure he's going to play a lot in this first game. Just to be like, hey, we got to see you translate. It's got to carry over from practice. You're hearing good things. He's understanding what's going on. Now go do it when you don't know what the other team's going to do, right? If he can show that he's going to be an impact and be able to be consistent and make some plays, I still think they get a linebacker, but it's not going to be a, hey, you got to back up. Jamin, you're going to back up. This guy's going to start type of a vibe. So it'll be more for depth rather than for immediate impact.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. So we're talking about depth and all that, and you're a wide receiver. Dyami Brown, it feels like we didn't get as much out of him as we thought we would last season, right? Now, some people say because he's kind of raw, and I would also say that we had a quarterback who just didn't push the ball deep, and that's his game. Kind of like how you suffered when John Beck was playing. But I said that, not Anthony. Y'all can direct your hate mail at me. What do you think that it was just a nature of who was throwing the ball? Do you think that Dyami had some aspects of his game that he really needed to work on? Because especially if Curtis is, going to be out for part of the season, if he doesn't get himself back into the shape they want him to be in, what do you think is going to be Dyami's, what does he need to do in order to really kind of stamp himself into getting some real playing time?
One, find that special team spot. That's going to be one thing about getting you on the field. But he's just being consistent and making a play daily. Find a way to continue to stack good days after good days. take advantage of the days where Samuel and some of the vets aren't in. Those are going to be your reps that you really get to show out. And it's tough to go straight from college and then just dominating the league. Like, this is the NFL. This is not. It's not like you're just going to another high school, or, you know what I mean? It's not like you're going to a small college. Like, there's levels to it, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, especially if you're a guy, speed guy, and in college they can spread everybody out, and everybody's like one-on-one coverage, and it just makes it really easy, and you just run by somebody. That ain't happening out here, So you have to learn how to manage getting off a press and the physicality of the game. Picking up to the speed of the game probably didn't help that, you had a quarterback change, but I think it's more of a learning curve thing. I would hope that he makes some plays this preseason, right? Because if you're starting to say Cam is a 4, now you got to think Deami is a 5, and then depending on how you want to work with Samuel, they kind of have to have. They're probably going to have to carry minimum 5, probably more like 6 receivers plus a guy on practice squad. Just that way you can have some depth to not run, Curtis into the ground. So he's just going to have to take advantage of these opportunities. He's going to have to get the most out of what he's given.
Cam has.
Did you see? Have you seen anything in his game that makes you that you would look at and say, all right, kid, if you work on this, you're gonna have a much more successful career. You're gonna be more productive. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you that, like, all right, he's fast. He can get up there and challenge on 50-50 balls. We saw that last season. Didn't always come down with them, but was there anything that you saw that's kind of just stood out as this is what he's got to work on?
Nothing too specific. Not a lot of details. I guess didn't get to see a lot of him. I would just feel that, at least when I look at myself getting into the league, you kind of had to learn. Like, if you were used to relying on your speed, you get to the pros and you realize that doesn't always work, right? So now you have to kind of develop the ability to run more routes other than just to go. And that's the one thing that gets frustrating about those college playbooks and that spread, where you got somebody who's in the slot and they're going to just run a slot fade and they're just the fastest guy on the field. And that's not going to happen in the league that often. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't get to do that every day. So I would say it was just a learning curve thing. Just keep working on your craft, keep finding ways to get open on other routes, because if you're a one-trick pony and all you do is go deep, they can cover that. And then once teams you don't have a quarterback that can throw it far enough, then they're going to say, well, we got to do something else. So I think it's just showing up and just showing that improvement. I would love to see him, just get more active, catching routes and, catching different routes and run after the catch, and can't turn the ball over. You have to be damn near perfect whenever you're at the bottom of a position group. You just have to be like almost better than Terry. You have to be just perfect. You know what I mean? You can't afford to mess up.
Yeah. As far as linebacker goes, and a couple of people chiming in on Anthony Barr going to Dallas. Marcus says, signing the table, beaten on the table for Jalen Smith. At this point, we're almost into week 1 preseason. Is there anyone even? I mean, how often do a teams really being an impact player this late in the game?
I don't know why anybody wants Jalen Smith. He got one leg, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily jump at Jalen. No disrespect to the guy, but I mean, he's had a rough couple of years. Depth wise, sure, you can bring him in there, but his last little time in Green Bay, it wasn't a whole lot going on.
Right.
That was too exciting. I like him. I like the guy. I think he's got a great story, but it's going to be tough to kind of just show up and make a huge impact like that. I don't think you're really going to find anybody that's just going to be just going to blow you away and just take things over. Yeah, in the season, you would think that guy is already on the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On the logo, man, I think Khaliki Hudson. I think he's got to show something too. I think he has a chance.
Well, Ricardo says we'll end up with AJ Klein if we bring anybody in. Otherwise, we're looking at David Mayo. I mean, like you said, the linebacker. We're so thin at linebacker. It's not even funny.
I'm on the Hightower bandwagon because I know that guy. I mean, I don't expect him to be a star. I expect him to be a starter, a solid starter.
But go ahead, Phil. Finish up.
I feel like that you kind of need that steady hand at backer because Holcomb and Davis, they haven't been the most consistent. Although Holcomb, I think, gets underrated a lot. I think he's better than what a lot of people realize.
I like him.
I like Cole Holcomb personally, but I think that having somebody who's a real vet back there and will always be around the ball and will always be in the mix would help free up somebody who has the ability to do that on every play. Will help free up guys like Jamin and guys like Cole Holcomb to do what they do best. That's be athletic and force the issue.
Yeah, and I also think that I'm kind of stealing what Chris Russell said. He came on the pod last night. He was saying that defense, you can kind of scheme around not having to have two linebackers on there. Like if like you said, more of a 5-1, 5-1, 5 look, or probably some 4-2-5 in there. I mean, I'm interested to see kind of what happens with the safety position if somebody is pretty good. I mean. People throw around Landon Collins, kind of that name keeps popping up every now and again, right?
I actually think that if Percy Butler is as good as advertised, you could start him and McGee or McGee, him and McCain in the back and the back at safety. You can move Cam Curl up to that that hero back / Buffalo nickel position that Landon played, and Landon was effective in. And Cam Curl's kind of the same player, in my opinion. He may be a little rangier than Collins at this point.
Yeah.
But that just means he's going to cover more lateral ground anyway.
But I mean, look at what Washington is going to face, at least in the division. Dallas loves to go 3 wide. I think gone are the days where they're going to just be lined up in the eye. It's not going to be 21 personnel. You're generally going to see 3 wide. Dalton Schultz is more of a pass catching tight end. Same vibe in Philly. Philly's going to spread it out. New York, I mean, if you go from what Dable did in Buffalo, let's say you imagine it's going to be the exact same vibe, everybody's getting spread out. So now, maybe it is more likely to say you only need one backer in the middle. You can bring up a safety, put an additional safety on the field who can handle handle a tight end. St. Juice, if he comes on and handles the slot. I mean, you probably won't have to be in that having 2 backers on the field that often.
But so much of that is dependent upon whether or not Jack Del Rio can scheme it up. I think 2020 was just pure athletic ability of Montez Sweat, Chase Young. And like Jimmy said, Young has invasive surgery on both knees. Can he be a player we think he is? Or, ... I think Jack Del Rio has got to get creative on defense. You got to stunt, move guys around. Play. We don't have the flexibility we had with Matty Ioannidis gone and Tim Settle gone, but you can't just line up and go. You got to finesse some stuff.
Him adjust though after Chase got hurt. I'm hoping that they go back to that 4-game stretch. And it's like, this is what you need to do with your healthy starters.
But a lot of that, like if you're looking at just letting the dogs loose with Sweat and Chase and just go hunt, you got to be able to have some sort of coverage on the back end that's going to slow somebody down. You go back, you're talking about 2020, the linebacker couldn't cover a tight end, right? Like that was it was from week 1 and it continued the whole year. It was like, fix that, right? Can anybody go cover a tight end? Like that ended up hurting. Didn't matter how good your pass rush is. If you can quickly get the ball to a tight end, it's going to be wide open. Is that who it was? Yeah, I think that was. But if the secondary, they appear to be playing better, in training camp so far, if they can show up and lock up a little bit, they can take away some of those quick passes and allow the front to hunt. But yeah, I do agree. You gotta get creative. You gotta get in your bag a little bit, Jack Del Rio. You got to make some things happen, move some guys around. I agree 100% with the stunts. You just got to get a little bit more creative until you get chased back.
We got 2 folks agreeing with Phil and his point of view. Hey, welcome to the show, Shotguns, the great one. He's a friend of the show, friend of ours. He is a Packers fan. Stuck
Tell
in
him to
Chicago,
look. Hold
Chicago.
on. Look at that right there. Ooh.
Oh, hey. Look at that picture. Look at that picture.
Shy
Who's
Guns.
that catch on though? Who's that catch on?
That's on Charlie Pepper.
Oh, okay.
Charlie Pepper.
As long as it wasn't Jair Alexander, you know, he's from Louisville. I can't.
No, man. Nah, I think he was in like middle school whenever
Probably,
I played.
Shotguns does have a question for you. He said, yo, Armstrong, who is your favorite wide receiver in the draft this year?
But you know, there was, man.
You got Olave, Garrett, you got Dotson.
There's a lot of really good ones.
There
were a lot of really good ones. I've always been one that leans towards like those really just deadly route runners. The guys, both of those guys out of Alabama were very exciting. Jameson Williams, John Mechie, those guys are really good. Brian Hartline has wide receiver U up there at Ohio State, so it was good to see those guys. But frankly, I mean, you talk about in the draft, I wanted to see that where their one freshman Jackson, I can't think of his last name. He's up there in Ohio State, so I think he's going to be a good player down the line. But there were just so many good ones. There wasn't one guy that just jumped out. I was a big fan of those guys down in Alabama. And the guy George Pickens, we're watching some of his stuff that come across the screen. The Steelers do a good job finding whoever scouts their receivers. They do a really good job.
Always have been great at doing what they do. And speaking of wide receivers, I'm just going to flash them on the screen real quick. Ari Marioff on Twitter talking about receivers taken outside the first round in 2019 have gotten paid this offseason. That's so money, like to be outside the first round and look at these guys performing, getting first round contracts. Isn't it great to see that?
Oh yeah, I love it because it's definitely a change. You can see the way the game has changed. Obviously, I mean the quarterbacks are getting like legacy money, like generational wealth, and deservedly so because you're asking them to throw the ball 50 times a game, and then they got to throw it to somebody, and they basically found a way to get the rookies in cheaply, and then now you're rewarding them quicker for their success. And I'm all for it, right? Like there was no need for them to come in and get 4-year, $100 million contracts because they were a top 5 pick. Like, no, there was no reason for that to happen. But now, AJ Brown, you've shown that you that dude, and now you get the bag. Terry, you've shown that you're that dude, and now you get a bag. Frankly, on that list, I didn't see Hunter Renfrow get paid, but I'm glad he did because Hunter Renfrow
early
was
on and very
so
quietly.
cold, and that's his game. He probably just like, I don't want to tell anybody about this.
Catches everything, doesn't let anything go.
Always open. Like he was one of my favorite receivers when he was at Clemson. I was like, yo, that 13,
that dude was rough.
They like, oh, T. Higgins, and then I'm like, 13 over there is always open.
I'll bet you were watching 13.
Oh yeah, you know what? There's not an accident on how that goes. I mean, look, Deontay Johnson got paid
on Hard Knocks. Hunter Renfrow on Hard Knocks. He's just like, man, that guy's gonna be good. He's just great from the second he came in the league, and just very underrated, very quiet, like you said, quiet professional, consummate, and those are the guys you really like. And each one of these receivers kind of one up each other with the increment of the salary. You're like, this guy's, it's all started with Cortland Sutton set the market. Wide receiver 2, you're getting like $19 million a year. And after that, it just went up and up and up and up and up. And the latest was DK and Debo got the latest ones. Terry had the highest signing bonus for maybe 10 days. And then, DK immediately surpassed it. So, and then in a position like that, you're just cheering for your fellow receivers, right? Because all it does is make it better for the rest of the receivers, right?
Oh yeah.
Come out retirement.
Shoot, like you say, if y'all need the bye week to week 4, I could be ready by week 14. Y'all give me a little, give me a little time. I've been running. I'm in some shape, but training. Oh no. Frankly, those are the type of deals that I want. I didn't even want that much. I was like, man, I had a good season. Shoot, I'm about to get re-signed. I would have loved to have been able to get some of that money. So if y'all want to share, I would gladly take it. But no, you cheer for your other guys to get paid. I would think. I don't. There's no reason to hate on AJ Brown, especially if you've already like put in the work. You like, I already got something on the resume. I might as well. You got to pay us now, and it really does. It works out where you don't have to worry about guys being on that 5 year and then getting all the way to the end and. let's just squash it now. Pay the people because they deserve it. They've already performed. They've already outperformed what they've been getting paid. You can lock them up for a couple more years. They can still get another contract. You can re-sign them. So if they decline, then hey, no harm, no foul. Everybody can just part ways. If they ball out, then you're probably going to be more likely to give them that money, or they can go somewhere else and get paid. So I think it's a win-win for both teams and players.
Yep. Marcus says Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a stud at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And another question for you is Lamar Jackson from Shotguns a top 5 quarterback in the NFL?
Man. One, let me go with the Harrison Jr. I trained him a little bit at an Under Armour camp.
Okay.
It was in Baltimore, so he was there. Yeah. It was at
headquarters.
Yeah, it was at
Owens Mills.
Well, yeah, but no, it was at the. I want to say it wasn't DeMatha, but there's the school out there that Kevin Plank's kids go to, and either way, he was there. And he's like, oh, I was like, is your dad here? I'm like fanboying out. I'm like, is your dad here? Because I really would like to meet him, but I didn't get to meet Marvin Harrison, but I do like what Harrison Jr. has been doing.
Georgetown Prep.
I don't know. I don't remember where it was. It was a pretty campus though. But is Lamar Jackson a top 5 quarterback? If you looking at the way that people will normally look at a quarterback and say somebody that's going to throw the ball and just have a crazy, even though he does have, he'll have decent statistics throwing the ball. But I think he's able to do so much more. I think he's going to get paid like a top 5 quarterback. It's just the league doesn't. I feel like they just don't value him like the same way you would say like a Patrick Mahomes, like throwing the ball, as much. I think that Lamar is a baller, number one. Like he's going to be able to positively affect any team that he was able to go to. But I think it works. You have to really lock in with the play calling, and what makes the most sense. Now I feel like they might be like wondering, well, do you want to pay him this money and then still run the read option? But I mean, that's what he's always been doing. So, I don't think you want to take that away from his game. I think he's going to get paid like a top 5 quarterback for real. I mean, shoot, if he wants to, if he was in Washington, I'd love to have him in Washington. You know what I mean? So I think that'd be a fast offense. But
what do you think, Dev?
Shotgun.
Man, he already knows what I think. He's one of my friends. He knows.
He's just egging you on.
Going, right? He knows.
Shotguns is asking that because he watches the pod every week. We did a top 5 quarterbacks going into 2022, and I stirred up a ton of controversy because I did not have Lamar Jackson.
Put the card up here. Post editing somewhere up here.
But I did not have Lamar in my top 5. I actually had him at number 6, so I ranked out the top 10 and then went from there. And Dev thought I was nuts because I didn't have Lamar in the top 5, but I did
Matt Stafford, bro.
I had Matt Stafford in my top 5 going into 2022.
That's day one. Nah, Matt Stafford, man.
I feel like it's with the quarterbacks. Like I think by far and away, you got to put there's Patrick and Aaron, A-Rod. They're way up at the top. Brady's like I think Brady, you give him the respect because he just keep on going. You know what I mean? But then after that, there's like a whole bunch of guys that it's just like you could name Josh Allen. Some people probably want to start talking about Joe Burrow being in there, Justin Herbert being in that mix. Lamar is going to definitely fall in that mix into that like 4 to 5 range. I could see. Everybody's so close. I mean, hell, and then you got Russell Wilson who's still hanging around. He's not, I wouldn't put him maybe top 5 in this league right now, but I feel like players 4 to 8 could easily be, and there's an argument for them to be top 5. You know what I mean?
Just to recap, man, this is what we picked. This is what we picked for our top 5 NFL quarterbacks that day. It's a pretty consistent list. It's not that far off. Besides Phil putting Matthew Stafford up there, I think that was the anomaly and then I had Justin Herbert in making it just inside at 5. Those were the two major anomalies, and then Dev had Lamar at 3. So
my problem with the whole like Herbert versus Allen and Jackson thing is that, man, if you put Allen and Herbert on the Ravens as constructed, Ravens ain't going to playoffs, bro. You put Lamar on the Chargers. Chargers in the playoffs the last 2 years. Why ain't the Chargers in the playoffs now?
That's a tank.
I'm just saying. Like if Lamar's on the Bills, how many Super Bowls you think the Bills would have right now, bro? Keep it real.
I mean, the Bills. I mean, they've really improved over the past couple of years.
They're not deficient because of Allen. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you were to put Josh Allen on the Ravens, how many playoff wins or how many playoff appearances Ravens going?
It's hard to say because if you
don't know what kind of offense they
because that's the other part. Like the Ravens run a very particular style. That's why like Marquise Brown kind of he was good with Lamar because he could fling it, but you're not maximizing his ability. There. Right. The way that they run it, I mean, they're very heavy running the ball,
like being a receiver at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that they had two amazing receivers in the league, Calvin Johnson and Demaryius Thomas. Rest in peace. Yeah. Like it's crazy to think that they came from a wing T offense.
Larry Fitzgerald came from Georgia Tech too.
He was from Pitt. Right? He was from Pitt.
No, he was from Pitt.
Chargers got 2 Pro Bowl receivers. Ain't been in the playoffs. What good has that done you?
Hey,
what good is that do you have to do 40 yards every game? Don't make the playoffs.
I mean, hey,
just saying, man.
If anything, you could say this: the Chargers are probably on that upswing that the Bills have already completed, and now they're in that mix. The Chargers are like right there. I love seeing their content. That was it. Brandon Staley. He's very subtle, but he hypes me up. I was like, man, if y'all need one more, let me know because. I feel like, well, they're in LA now, but right. San Diego is still beautiful. Keep it classy out there. It's such a competitive league, man. It really is. And I mean, football's in a good place. It's in a good place. You can have these debates all the time. Yeah. Any of those quarterbacks on those lists will probably take Matt Stafford. I mean, I think he finally got into a great situation and was able to win him a Super Bowl.
That's what I said, man. Anybody can win with the Super Friends, bro. Like, even Aquaman's cool. Guy. You got Batman and Superman beside him. What you gonna do with Aquaman if you're in the desert? What's he gonna do?
Gonna dry up, I would think.
And I gotta ask you about this. This picture. We have to know. So,
oh yes,
clearly this was training camp. What is with the upside down triangle with the white tape? Question.
Okay. So what had happened was I'm wearing this yellow jersey. It's the non-contact jersey. So if you go way back to 2012, somewhere probably about right before the second preseason game, that's when it was first or second preseason game, I separated my AC joint. Yep. So I was injured, right? So I literally missed like 2 weeks. I missed the first 2 preseason games. And when I finally got cleared to come back, they were like, okay, you can go back, but you have the no contact jersey. So I was able to do individuals and things like that. And it was just a blank jersey. They didn't even print like 13 on there. I didn't get a name. And frankly, it's a quarterback's jersey too. So one of them days I was like, man, I'm finna sauce these things up a little bit. And I think the upside down, the question mark, I think that was the first one. And then like another time I had like a tic-tac-toe on the back. And then the highlight of them all was when I went all out and I had Robert Griffin III. I made it Bob III. And I had Bob III on the nameplate.
I got to find that.
And then I flipped it was 01. And I even cut, you know how back in the day, y'all probably know this, where you would cut your sleeves. You would cut the sleeve off a shirt and then you like tassel it out. So I made one of those and put it on my head and I ran out with my helmet on. So I had like these black looking like dreads. and I cut a sock. I had my whole arm was in this sock. I was Robert, and I was
Yeah,
running
you're
out
doing the
there.
Rob's twists.
Yeah, and they
What's
were
weird?
and
What's weird
people
about
were
that is
yelling at
that they
me.
got those armband things in the locker room. Probably you didn't have to use a sock.
Now, see, you gotta think this was way back in the gap. They didn't have all that stuff then, man. I didn't have. Matter of fact, here, okay, I found
Bring
it.
your own.
Let me see here. I'm gonna. Oh Lord, I'm like, how do I download? I'm gonna do this. Maybe I'm gonna just, I'm gonna just hold it up to the screen here. We'll zoom in. Oh, that isn't really working. You
I
kind of
see
see
it.
it.
01.
Let me, let me email
I
it.
see it. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna try to send it to you.
I found
can.
this one because the internet is undefeated.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you see that?
Man.
Bob the third. Hey, I even took a couple
Bobby
of
Three Sticks.
I even took a couple of reps in the warm up at quarterback. I took like one. I think I took one rep because I was like, that's not as easy as y'all make it look. So plus I can't throw that far. So, I did take that sleeve off quickly because it was hot.
Yeah,
it was
that's
too
amazing.
damn hot.
The crowd's loving this. Nice
How do you feel
were you clowning Robert? Or it was just
man. I was just having fun. Like it had started to become a thing.
Yeah.
Right? I think I had the upside down that one. I had a tic-tac-toe. And then I think like the third day, like that was just the other one. I think it was also like the last day that fans could be out there. So shoot, I was like, man, look, if we're gonna do this thing, let's do it.
Is this in Ashburn?
Yeah,
They were training camp Ashburn. Okay.
Yep.
How do you feel about RG3, the TV personality?
Man, I tell you, I'm glad he's having some success, man. I'm glad he's able to get out there and it's tough to get out of the league and it's tough to kind of transition into something else. Because you build your identity all around, the football player being on the field and then now you're kind of transitioning out, you're trying to figure out what's next. And that's not easy. I mean, I think it can take a good couple 2-3 years to kind of get out of that, get out of the league, go through your little depressive state, and then work your way back up and figure out what's next. So I'm glad he's finding something he can jump onto. He's got the energy for it, and he's getting more reps, getting more practice. So he'll be good. He'll be good. I figure got to be better than Booger. Shoot.
Well, speaking
I
of
like
that,
Booger, but it was
you're into real estate now. So Redskin wide receiver, great. Gary Clark also, I don't know if you know this, but he's a big real estate guy in this area. He's always doing promos and he gets his fellow alum to help, come sway people into the real estate market. So it's cool to be able to take, something that you've done and spin it into, the next step off of a career, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, real estate's been fun. Everybody's like, well, it's really competitive. And I'm like, man, I had to go against like Ray Lewis and Charles Woodson. Like I ain't tripping on the competitive nature. But it's a fun business. And I know for me, like I have to find like a way to kind of challenge myself, or like a new way to kind of make me work towards something, right? So everything's always changing. Obviously, the market can kind of flipped a little bit here. And no, it's not a crash. It's more of a normalization. So if you're out there,
correction.
A correction, what people would say. I mean, you're getting a lot of inventory. It's turned to a real estate pod, but I mean, you're seeing more inventory. It's just like prices will come down, but they're still up. We're at record highs, right? So, my advice for anybody that's out there still looking, if you're in Dallas, call me. Seriously, but no, if you're still looking and you're able to purchase something, like you should look into it because there are sellers that are starting to give a little bit. They're starting to say, hey man, we'll pay down points for you, or we'll give you carpet allowances or whatever. So
I'm buying and selling, so I'm like right there in the middle right now. We're just I followed your advice. I'm trying to get my curb appeal up. So slowly, roofing, siding, gutter, softening. We're slowly getting that done. But yeah, I listen, I watch. Pay attention.
I know a little bit.
And let's just close out with one final thing. You do know a little bit.
I'm sorry, I just saw Jimmy's comment.
What did he say? Anthony, bruh, you got the voice for Quiet Storm Hour.
Hey, man.
Damn.
Yeah. There's,
Midnight Love. Or
well, I'm gonna tell you.
Can you imagine if Anthony and Ellie did
Simpson.
the evening show on Magic?
Hey, I used to do. I had a little bit on Instagram. I called it Real Estate After Dark, and I would post pictures late at night because I know, like, just like me, y'all in y'all bed scrolling through Instagram. So I'm like, hey, Real Estate After Dark, So I should bring that back, Jimmy. I'll make some reels or something, and then I will look at this 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
This is the bedroom.
There you
Look
go.
at the kitchen.
Out when you at work.
3,200 square feet. Got a swimming pool, no HOA. I might do that.
Man, by the way, the HOA sucks, man. We have one here. It's the worst thing ever,
they are what they are. If you don't like it, get on the board. Get on the board.
I'm glad
those
sometimes
changes.
Be the
these
change
dudes
you
would
want
have
to
cars
see.
in their front yard, anything if it wasn't for this.
See?
Two more comments, then we'll shut it down. Marcus says, "How do you feel about Joe Jacoby not in the Hall of Fame? It's a joke. Another year he's passed that. I'll kick this one to Phil because as the offensive lineman guy,
it's a travesty, dude. Absolutely deserves to be in there. The only thing there's two.
Thanks,
things.
Yam. Thanks for tuning in, Yam. Catch you on the flip side, man.
Peace, Yam.
See ya, Yam.
Two things are what keep Joe Jacoby out of the Hall of Fame. And it's two stupid things, really, because it totally ignores the body of work. One is they say, well, we put Russ Grimm in. So they say, well, we got one of the Hogs in. That's all that matters. That's why Gary Clark isn't even getting given consideration because they go, well, we got Art Monk in. Yeah. We don't need to put two members of the posse in.
Wow.
The other thing is now John Stallworth and Lynn Swann are both in the Hall of Fame, but that's because they were with the Steelers and everybody loves Steelers, all the writers. The other one is the fact that late in Jacoby's career, he got bumped to right tackle by Jim Lachey.
Yep.
It's like, he got taken out of his starting spot. He still started just on the other side. And if anybody wants to argue with me, I'll tell you this: Jim Lachey is one of the 3 best left tackles I've ever seen. He would be in the Hall of Fame if he didn't have just this chronic series of injuries that took him out way too early.
But it sounds like Joe's the epitome of position flex, right? Nobody's in on that.
They even had him play guard at times to fill in.
Yeah.
He came in as a defensive tackle. He played defensive tackle in a playoff game for us.
Yeah.
Come on now. Joe Jacoby I will argue this one to death.
You might need to start a petition and then like put that emotion there and just say this is
Brian
what
Mitchell
it is.
in too, bro.
Yeah, Brian Mitchell, all-time all-purpose yard leader.
Yes, be Mitch.
That seems crazy to me. The all-time leading yardage getter, ain't it?
Is Devin Hester in yet?
No.
If he gets in before B Mitch, that's going to be a thing.
Bro.
See, I think if he gets in, it opens a door for B Mitch too.
Yeah,
because now you can point. Because how many kick returners are in the Hall of Fame for being kick returners?
Right,
none.
So and I would say Hester deserves it because he was literally like it was a touchdown in a bottle. Like you never had somebody where like if he touches the ball. It was like if he catches it, he's gonna score. And I remember like they're like, hey, 23's back there. Like you better be on your game. Like don't you tell the kicker kick it out of bounds? Please kick it out of bounds. Do not kick it to this dude. And he was so dangerous. Like took the opening kickoff back in the Super Bowl. Oh my goodness.
Devin Hester, if you look at his career averages and everything, I mean the dude did have 14 punt returns for touchdowns, 5 kick returns for touchdowns. That's 19 touchdowns as a returner. He only had 16 as a receiver. It's hard to argue B Mitch over Hester.
All-time leader in yards, bro.
Yeah.
More yards than everybody. He's covered more real estate than everyone who's ever played in a game. The history of the game, bro.
I think the only
thing, I look at the touchdowns first because he turned kick. He was probably the man who probably had the most impact in turn of people looking at kick returners as an offensive weapon in ways that we just hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, yeah, B. Mitchell just super productive. It's over his whole career, and he deserves to be in the Hall. But it's kind of like now you look at like the NBA's like top 75 list. If I forget I saw some meme or some graphic. They're like, this guy isn't in the Hall of Fame or in the top 75, but Dame Lillard is, and it was a guy where you'd be like, that guy's not in there. How did he not make it? And it's going to be. There's going to be some really tough decisions just going down the line, just the visibility of the way the league is now. I mean, like everybody's post is a highlight reel. Like you can go jog around the track and it looks like a damn music video. And they're like, oh my God, like,
except for Aaron Colvin.
I thought, and you know this guy, you played with him. I thought Brandon Banks was going to be a home run hitter guy. And I feel like every time he did do something that took it to the house or super long return, we held and it came back. Every
CFL
single
he is.
Yeah.
time. He is now. But I mean, when he was our punt returner, I thought he was just going to be the most dangerous thing. You played with him, what, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years. Banks was probably the quickest. Like the quickest guys, he would get from 0 to 60 in the snap of a finger. I remember just covering kicks in practice, and I'm like, okay, I got like a 15-yard cushion. Like you're 15 yards that way. I got you covered. Like you're, what they say, you get a net around a fish, right? That's the mantra. And he'd find a way to jump outside the damn net every time. And you're like, how did you? It's like he snaps his finger, he disappears, and he's over here. And then he's going down the sideline. But yeah, we did hold a whole lot with Banks. I think the only thing that held him back was like you didn't get to put him in for anything else other than return. And it wasn't, the league wasn't in the space where it is now, where you're like, hey, let me just give him a quick screen, and smaller receivers can thrive because they're going to operate in space. He was either going to run deep or we're going to have to return kicks, and he wasn't going to be an every down guy, and he really wasn't playing special teams like as a gunner or
Banks would be a star in the 2022 NFL.
Hey, Dante Howe, by the way, has the best highlight shakes I've ever seen in my entire life. There's one where it was a cheesy cut that like on the sideline, he like shook the dude and jumped backwards at the same time. I can't describe it. Like it's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. You ever get
a human joystick?
Shake moves, man.
Human joystick.
He was silly.
Man. Jimmy says, hell, if you look at Broadway, Joe's number's white and Doug Williams in.
Because Doug Williams had a lot of his career as a backup.
I'm gonna let me throw another name here. And this guy, hadn't even played on Washington, but a guy by the name of Carlos Dansby. I'm gonna give him some love.
The linebacker, Carlos
New England, right?
Dansby.
Was it New England?
Arizona?
He played all over Arizona most notably. He every year he makes posts. He's like, hey, I should be in the league. All-time solo tackles. He's sitting at 7th.
Oof.
1,000. He's actually tied with Junior Seau. Right? He's got more than Brian Urlacher. I don't know who that one is at the bottom. He's like, best ever. I'm reading his post. He's like, yo, it's about that time. Make it up in your mind. You're one of the best to ever do it. Go prove it. He did it for 14 years. He played all 3 linebacker positions in a 4-3 and in a 3-4, whatever the team needed. Boom, he's got some cuss words in here. 43 career sacks, 20 career interceptions, 19 caused fumbles, 1,000+ tackles, no Pro Bowls, no All Pros. But he's got all those statistics that are, Hall of Fame linebackers. Yeah, and I
just
think
put up
some of those
stats. He missed 12 games in 14 years. That's
Landon Fletcher's career is basically almost the same as Ray Lewis's.
Yeah, Fletcher's sitting there second.
He's basically got the same. It's like a great value version of Ray Lewis's career, man.
Yeah, And it sucks to see that. Like, I wish there was a little bit of a player vote. You know what I mean?
Well, they have the Veterans Committee, which is what Jacoby's in now. But the Veterans Committee, like, they only get to put in like one guy a year.
And didn't it take 16 years for Art Monk to get in? And when he retired, he was like
it took Monk like 10.
He was like the GOAT when he left. He was like all-time leading receptions. But
but what happened was that right after him, Rice, Chris Carter, all those guys, Randy Moss, started breaking all the records.
Yeah,
and it was right when he retired. Right before he retired, a couple years before he retired, is when the season receptions record started falling every year. Started with Sterling Sharp, and then Chris Carter, and then Herman Moore, and all these guys were just
Marvin
topping
Harrison
each other.
had some of that. That's why I started loving Marvin Harrison when he had like 143 receptions.
I wonder how many of those 143 came on Aaron Colvin.
Aaron gonna kick your ass, man.
Yes, he is.
He gonna kick
Aaron
your
Cole's
ass.
gonna find out that there's some dude named Dev on a podcast that keeps his name in his mouth.
The last point I wanted to bring up, and you got to play with him for a couple years, was the Ryan Kerrigan retiring, as he is the all-time sack leader for this team. But I think that not a fallacy, but it's just a little bit construed, because I don't think they started counting that stat till 87. And if you did, I guess apparently Dexter Manley probably would have had it. But all things aside, I don't want to take away anything Ryan Kerrigan's done. But they brought him in. He wasn't. If you listen to his press conference, he wasn't expecting anything but to go in and sign a piece of paper. They were waiting for him. They gave him a round of applause when he came into Ashburn. Chase was the first person to dab him up, and he's out there today, working with the players on the field, the defensive, the edge rushers and the guys on the field. So, what's your thoughts on RK91 retiring in the burgundy and gold, and just give us some insight on that.
I'm glad that he got to go out that way. I think that's right. That's honorable to get the 1-day contract, and I'm glad that they showed him some love. I feel like I think that does show that there's definitely a change in the building and kind of how you're going to handle some things. And that's the right thing to do, to give him some love. I know that he's been interested in coaching. I mean, from hearing what he was, the press conferences and whatnot. And so they said Coach Rivera was going to leave him out there, let him kind of get used to the grind and see if he wants to get into it. And I'm sure they'll let him come in and chime in at any point. And all it's going to do is help those guys. You know what I mean? Like, why would you turn that away? You know what I mean? Why would you turn that away? But kudos to him. And when I come and sign my 1-day contract to hang them up, I expect half of the just a little bit. Hell, just meet me at the little Five Guys around the corner. We go to Green Turtle. You know what I mean? We don't got to do all the stuff crazy. Buy me a beer, and we can shoot the shit and have a good time when I hang them up.
Well, if you're over the DC area, man, we'll do that anyways.
Yeah. I'll be up there at some point. I don't know when, though.
You let us know.
I'll let you know.
I'll Monk's barbecue on me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna get something good. But just because I know you brought it up, Steve. So they started keeping sacks in 1982, right? Pro Football Reference went back and they've done all the sacks back to I think 1960, because I think they have all NFL games recorded. So they've gone back and recorded everybody's sacks.
Easy Deacon there.
Well, hold on. Dexter Manley, 97 sacks with this team. He's still second to Ryan Kerrigan. I didn't believe it at first either.
I didn't know that.
I didn't believe it either. I was like, wait a minute. But then I went back and saw, because the only year, 81 was his rookie year. So he only has 1 year of sacks. And in his rookie year, he only had 6. So that puts him from 91 to 97. So Kerrigan actually has the legitimate sack record for the team.
That's pretty
look at that.
So,
statistician over there.
Hey, look, I looked this stuff up because, we all know there's 3 kinds of lies.
They have Dexter Manley at 103.5. And then they have Kerrigan at least what I'm looking at Pro Football Reference.
You're looking at career, though. He had career. He's with the team. Sacks with Tampa.
Right. Okay, that's what outside. Okay, I got you. With the team.
So you gotta look at what he did here.
Yep.
Yeah, he had more sacks than Kerrigan, but they weren't all here. He had 6.5 with his 1 year in Tampa.
It's like it's like a man. That's slick. That's like a win a bet question right there.
Yeah.
That's a win a bet question.
Marcus said, "See you guys later. What is your podcast, Andy, so I can promote it?" I'll type it in the chat. But
appreciate it, man. Yeah, the Believe in Commanders, man. Believe in Commanders.
Spelled that way. BLEAV.
Yeah.
Commander, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and you talk about the quiet storm voice. I got a kid sleeping upstairs right here. Yeah. So I don't want to be too hyped.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I'm a more of a chilled out dude anyway. It's been a long day. Long good day.
Well, we appreciate your time, man, and coming on and talk football as always. It's the pleasure's all on this side, and we want to thank everyone for joining tonight. Marcus, Ricardo, Jimmy, Yaman, Japan, Shotguns. Thanks for popping in and causing the ruckus with Dev and Lamar Jackson, like you always do. Thanks all for tuning in, Anthony. We love you, man. It's always a pleasure. And if you ever want us to come on your joint, man, just hit us up. You know, we'll be there. Put the shades on. Smooth transition on the way out.
Yeah.
But on this show, we always like to give our shout outs on the way out. So Anthony, you got any shout outs for anyone, anywhere you want to give?
Oh man, I wasn't ready for that. But
it's okay.
I'll say I'm gonna give a little love, Mr. Andy Burrows. I'll give him a little shout out. I've seen him on Twitter and I've followed him, and I think he's one of the furthest away Washington fans. And he had said something. He's like, "Man, everybody stateside, y'all don't know how nice you got it to be able to like go to camp and things like that." So, Commanders, get that man a flight. Yeah. Bring him in. Bring him to a game or something. I think he'll be here week 1.
So he's coming week 1.
There you go.
The whole UK crew coming week 1. That's
gonna be
influence.
That'll be fun right there, man. But no, shout out to him. Shout out to all the Washington fans holding it down, man. I appreciate y'all.
All right. Phil, you got anybody in particular?
I want to say shout out to every single player at camp trying to make this team, trying to bring success to this franchise, trying to bring us back. Shout out to DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah, Jimmy Lee says Jazzy Jeff. It's fun AF. Yeah, Jimmy.
And shout out to everybody I'm going to see Saturday at the live practice at FedEx Field. I will be there. Steve will be there. If you're going to be there, let us know so we can try to find you. I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, are we parking for free too? We got to pay for
free
that.
Parking. Not tailgating. It's free parking. It's free parking.
Oh, good job, Dan. Thank you.
It's a practice though. Can you charge parking for?
Never heard that before. Jeez.
Hey, I had to pay to park in Richmond.
Yeah, we'll see you there, Ricardo. We will see you there. Dev, what you got, man?
Shout out to Aaron Colvin. I love you, bro. I'm just joking. These is jokes, bro. These is jokes.
He gonna kick your ass still.
Yeah, he is. One day he's gonna show up in your doorstep and get tight.
Don't do that. This is Kentucky.
That's true. Y'all live on a different level down there.
Yeah, we got concealed carry is illegal here, buddy.
That's right. Hey, shout out to everyone who, like I said earlier, who joined the chat. Shout out to Anthony. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to you and your family down in Texas. How's Errol doing? How's the youngest one, man? He doing good?
He's good, man. He's trying to figure out the crawling thing.
Oh.
He figured out how to go backwards, but he's super mobile.
Yeah,
like he'll just like kind of keep rolling, and he'll eventually be across the room. So definitely got to be on my P's and Q's about what's on the floor, because he's trying to eat anything that he can get. And he cut a tooth as well. So kind of got a
little fever, a little drool going.
Little bit.
What position group are we looking at?
Oh man, they're gonna shoot, man. I'm gonna have some receivers more than likely. Apollo's taking to golf.
Okay.
Like literally, Dad, I want to go to the driving range. I'm like, okay, fine. I want to play more golf. You want to go to the driving range?
So many golf scholarships go unused every year for college. Every year.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, you see a lot of times. I'll see a lot of like girls. They're like, join the golf team. Just play golf. You'll get a scholarship to the school you want to go to. So hey, swinging the sticks, I'm all about it. My second, Theo, he's the one that's like, he likes to like throw the ball and like the kick and punt, and he does all this stuff. So he's probably going to be like just that athlete. They're all going to be crazy athletic. They're very fast. Like the teachers at their school didn't know that their dad played football, and they're like, Apollo is so fast. They're like, yeah, his dad played NFL. He's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Like, yeah.
Just go check on YouTube. Look at the highlight.
Like, your kids, they tell me like his kid's so fat. Like, oh, his dad eats at McDonald's every day. That's what they say to me, you know.
Oh man, you know, say he was All-American in track once.
There you go. Hey, but thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate it, and shout out to you and Brian Murphy over there at Believe in Commanders, and yeah, man, we hope to get you on soon. And football's back. Commanders open up next on the 13th. They'll be open up at Carolina for their first preseason game at home, and then they got 2 games on the road for the preseason. And then, man, come first week of September, we're here. It is back. It is
a month away.
Oh my goodness! All the fantasy football drafts coming in. I don't know how many leagues you guys are in. I'm in like 4 so far. I don't think I can do
0.
Another one. Good for you, man. Good
I'm
for
in
you.
0 also. Nobody invites me to any leagues.
I'm just taking a year off.
It is taxing. It is taxing.
I'm going FanDuel.
The daily fantasy is where it's at. That's what you got to get into. That's how
I've done that, but I think they took it away from us in Texas.
So it's state by state laws. It's different. Like here in Maryland, we can't do DraftKings, but we can do FanDuel. It's just the way that it works. So
yeah, I don't think Texas. I don't think Texas lets us do either of those.
Which is crazy because Texas lets you do everything.
Literally anything you want to do, you can do in Texas.
Except for a few things, and this is not the place for that. But it's
yes. I got you.
You know, it's like leave us alone. Yeah, but hey, you can't do that. Like
I got you.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. As always, please like and subscribe and share on YouTube. Go check out Anthony's podcast, Believe in Commanders, over there with Brian Murphy. And we love you, bro. Thanks for joining, man. And we'll catch you next time. Stick around for just a second. We'll chat after this.
Absolutely.
As always, peace.